So first up, we have the session on and a discussion on incident and accident overviews, where the focus will be on trends and lessons. Now, it's important to know why accidents happen and how it happens in some cases to be able to learn from them. Historically, there's been a reluctance to report the details due to fear of embarrassment or to be blamed or liability. But if we don't share the details of incident, we don't have the opportunity to learn from it. Now, the purpose of this session is definitely to learn, not to blame or make fun of anyone. We're definitely not criticizing anybody. We all make mistakes. Those involved with these incidents or friends or people close to them may be involved in this presentation today. And I'll request you to please don't record the session or take screenshots. This is one of those where there's some sensitive matters being discussed or some information given that we don't want recorded. So over to Ria. We'll run the first part of this presentation. Thanks, Ria.
Thanks, Charl. Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Let's see if this works. Can everyone see that? Perfect. All right, good start. All right, so we're going to start with, maybe if it decides to change to the next slide. Yes, okay. So this first information is produced from the Technical and Safety Committee of the International Skydiving Commission of the FAI. The following data is from 2019. This is the 33rd year for which an ISC safety report has been published. The survey was sent out to 85 countries and 46 countries participated. So for 2019, 6.8 million skydives were made by 1.5 million jumpers, and 44 people were killed skydiving. That equals 1 fatality per 156,515 jumps and 1 fatality per 34,876 jumpers. Tandems make up 20% of all jumps worldwide. There was 4 tandem fatalities in 2019, and 3 of the 2019 fatalities were first jump students. Of the 44 fatalities, 8 were students, 5 were intermediate, and 31 were experts. Students are classed as having 0 to 25 free fall jumps. Intermediate is 26 to 250, and expert is 251 and above. A roughly similar percentage distribution of fatalities between student, intermediate, and expert as in previous years. The category expert skydiver continues to have the most fatalities, but it also has the biggest number of jumps. The most common for 2019 was other landing area errors. The second most was intentional fast landings, and the third most was a cutaway and no reserve. There's a continuing high percentage of fatalities resulting from canopy handling, canopy control, and landing issues. And every year, between approximately 70 to 90% of fatalities have involved human error. All right, moving on to Australia for 2020. It was estimated 278,650 total jumps. 77,000 of these were tandems, 201,000 were sport jumps, and it was a fatality-free year. If you compare this to 2019, tandem numbers are down over 50%. And the significant difference is obviously due to the COVID pandemic shutdowns and restrictions. All right. There were 418 incidents lodged in 2020 compared with 663 in 2019. The combination of malfunction and deployment categories continue to make up a significant proportion, about 42% of the total, and 93% of these result in cutaways. It should be noted, though, that close calls like malfunctions that were rectified or resolved and did not result in cutaways are not commonly reported. The combination of landing and canopy control categories also continue to make up a significant proportion, about 34% of the total. Although there is a significant difference in figures due to the COVID pandemic shutdowns and restrictions, the percentage of each category remains consistent with previous years. Reserves used in 2020. We had 170 cutaways recorded. We had 1 tandem reserve ride for every 2,147 tandem jumps, 1 reserve ride for every 1,660 sport jumps, And we had 13 student reserve activations, with one of these being on a first jump. We don't actually know how many student jumps are done, so we're unable to get a figure as above. All right, so injuries in 2020. Injuries refer to all reported injuries, and they include minor, so scratches, bruises, etc. Serious injuries include broken bones, multiple severe injuries, and dislocations. So we had 62 reported serious injuries for 2020, which is about 1 injury in every 4,494 jumps. We had 1 serious injury per 3,220 tandem jumps, 1 serious injury every 10,700 sport jumps, and we had 10 serious student injuries, with 0 of them being on a first jump. Comparing this with 2019, APF members reported 94 incidents resulting in serious injuries, which equals about 1 serious injury per 4,000 jumps. Serious injuries per jumps for tandem passengers has slowly increased over the past 3 years, and sport and student serious injuries are slightly down on previous years. All right, the past 20 years. So the total jumps in Australia for the past 20 years is 6,316,639 approximately. We had over 12,000 incident reports, over 5,500 malfunctions or cutaways and reserved use, with 2,100 of these from line twists. We had 150 incidents with 2 canopies out, 880 broken bones, 300 dislocations, and approximately 450 canopy and freefall collisions. Okay, the 20-year fatalities. So over the past 20 years, Australia has had a total of 49 skydiving fatalities. That equals 1 fatality every 128,910 jumps. This means for Australia during this period, we had a 20-year average of 2.4 fatalities per year. All right, so trends and specific incidents. Line twists are always a high percentage of cutaways. This year, we've had 3 common trends come up. One is rushing to make the load, packing, gearing up. We've had multiple misrouted bridles. One person got a B license jumper to do the buddy check and they missed it. The same person that had the misrouted bridle had the exact same error weeks earlier that was picked up on a buddy check by an instructor. We've had multiple incidents from multiple experience levels of chest straps not routed properly. We had a certificate C running late for the load and nearly ran into the propeller. We've had certificate Ds not hooking up soft links properly. So just goes to show, it doesn't matter your experience, rushing is not good. The soft links, the manifest actually picked up because the closing loop was loose. So their drop zone checks worked well. So it's better to wait a load than to rush. The second trend is handles and pins being dislodged. I'm sure you've all seen the wingsuit horseshoe malfunction that happened earlier this year, where the main flap was dislodged in the plane or opened in the plane, and the pin was dislodged on exit. The wingsuiter flew onto their back. The D-bag came out and they had a horseshoe. So they were very lucky that they were fine. There was a B license that had a pilot chute hanging out on exit, did a back loop and had a premature opening. And group exits, when people are exiting the plane, they're grabbing handles instead of arms or legs. So there have been multiple avoidable incidents like this where checking and not protecting pins and handles when moving in the plane or setting up in the door and on exit. So just doing basic checks to your own gear and to the people around you, checking and protecting handles can all prevent this from happening. The last trend that we've noticed this year is canopy collisions. We've had a few on opening. Luckily, they've had fast reactions and have been aware of where others are and have turned away and avoided a more serious situation. There are a couple of incidents that were low to the ground. They had tunnel vision, didn't see each other, too focused on making it back to the landing area, didn't see each other till the last minute at about 300 or 400 feet, have collided, spun up and flipped off and managed to land without serious injury. there were 2 of those recently. So yeah, just need to be aware of where everyone else is when you get on the ground. It's not over till you're back in the hangar. There was one incident as well, last one, where a student landed off and broke their ankle, and they stayed there and waited for help. The drop zone had a buddy system, and his buddy for the load reported him missing. They managed to find him and call an ambulance. So that's a good outcome and showed that their buddy system worked well. Human error plays a big part in skydiving incidents. People think it won't happen to me or I'd never do that. But you look at the experience level in some of these incidents and really it can happen to anyone. So it doesn't matter who you are, we all make mistakes. And a lot of these mistakes could have been avoided or prevented. Having a good safety culture is very important. So let's learn from these incidents to prevent similar accidents in the future. Let's slow down, look out for each other, and check and protect ourselves and each other. And that's all from me.
And if we can, just to conclude this whole section in terms of incidents and accidents, obviously we don't want incidents and accidents. The main reason why we don't want that is we don't want ourselves or our friends to getting injured or potentially die. The other outcomes of serious incidents is we expose ourselves and the APF to legal action, which is not good for the organization or its members. And if we have serious incidents, we see more and more that other parties, WorkSafe, CASA, the police, and all kinds and coroners get involved with these investigations, and then they start imposing regulations and restrictions, which limits what we can do in some cases, as we don't have an option to go down certain roads. So that's my last message: is stay safe, make good, safe decisions.